Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Hello there, Toffees. Welcome back to another episode of The Blue Frontier. We're very pleased to be back on our regular recording format for this post-match, despite the fact that Everton lost 1-0 to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, bringing our winless streak at the Bridge to 30 matches, which is the second longest away winless streak in the club's history, pushing up against 36 winless against Leeds from 1953 to 2001. It's also the 8th away match this season the Toffees have failed to score, but we will break this one down. It was reasonably close at times, but poor first half led to a slightly better second half. We'll get into it all. Before we do, just a reminder that if you enjoy the show, please leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. Follow us on socials. All of those links in the description. With that, to the summary quote of the day, we go to Mr. Ryan Williams. Take us away.
Yeah, the summary quotes really has nothing to do with the match, but just wanted to give a little levity. There's a little shtick right now. It's mostly DL. Any shenanigans on the Discord is usually led by him and some others. Talking about the Fraudkins and how dare they with these results. And AA Ron NorCal Toffee said, 777 at least sounded fun to party with. DL's response, seriously, mate, at least they brought cocaine. Fraudkins just bring a boring Corolla. And I think that sums it up right there. I mean, you should be outraged. What are the Friedkins doing? How could they let this happen? In all seriousness, though, I mean, today I called it the battle of the net spend. And I think the difference over just the last 3 years, like not even like 10 years or decades, or the difference in net spend, Chelsea are at a whopping negative 794.9 million euros, and Everton are at a positive 96.3 million euros. That is a 891.17 million euro difference over 3 years. Holy moly. How many clubs could Chelsea have bought with that difference? I will say this. At the intro, I asked this question to our two podcast mates right off the cuff, what they thought the difference was the last 3 years. And Sean Khan immediately, 900 million. Bang, right on. Kudos, Sean. You deserve all the credit in the world. But I think the difference in quality was pretty obvious at times today.
Yeah, it was very easy to tell. Quickly, many people have asked, and it's really warms my heart to understand the score predictions, given that we haven't talked about it the last few weeks. I have them logged, no need to worry. But for today, very simple. Sunwave Cat, the only one. 2 in a row for him, and I want to give him a shout out. He has 6 right for the season. Basically kind of like the title race almost. It's kind of foregone conclusion. A few matches left, guys. You got to get them right. So to lineups, Everton, James.
Well, wait, hold on. What do you get when you win? Have we figured this out yet?
We haven't decided yet.
There can be only one, like Highlander style, right?
By the way,
when you watch that movie, like when he won, what he got was, I was totally disappointed. I really thought it was going to be something a little more concrete, but anyway.
Yeah, we'll give the winner something, and maybe a cameo from Ryan, James, or I. You know, a nice minute-long video to just kind of congratulate that person. We're come to his house, like
Hall of Fame knock, you know, that type of thing.
We'll give you a giant check for like $3 or something like that. Yeah. Sprint out
some Coles cash.
Yeah, Coles cash is good. Anyway, we move on. We go into the lineups. The glaring omission today is, of course, James Tarkowski. In Moyes' pre-match presser, he notified the world that Tarkowski will miss the rest of the season. He needs surgery on his hamstring, so get well soon, James. As he put on his Instagram story the other day, we will see you at Bramley Moor. Unfortunately, that does break his streak of 111 consecutive Premier League starts. Pretty remarkable. He was just 2 short of Wayne Bridges' Premier League record of 113, so very close. Don't think he'll be able to ever quite match that again in his career, but second place isn't too shabby. But of course, with the absence of Tarkowski, we finally get the opportunity to see the center back partnership of Jared Branthwaite-Jake O'Brien. Unfortunately, on the other side of that, we do have Nathan Patterson coming in at right back, which we will definitely talk about. And the only other change Moyes makes is removing Broja. We know, of course, that he cannot play against his parent club, Chelsea. So Beto comes in. I mean, I think it's highly debatable whether Broja would have started given his performance against City last week, but Beto it is up top. And with that, we move over to Chelsea, the London Blues. Sean, walk us through their selection.
In today's world, you'd basically expect someone like Tark or just in the social media world to just have a long post. And I just love his Instagram story. It just was so simple. See you at Bramley Moore. So just very to the point, Tark, as always. But going to Chelsea, as Ryan said, the free spending Chelsea, a ton going on there. Romeo Lavia is probably the biggest boost for them as they kind of go into Europa Conference League. So him being back and partnering Caicedo. Also, I don't know what was with USA or NBC with just kind of the graphic in regards to the formation.
Not even close.
Not even close. I mean,
and I get though.
Yeah.
It's a shame that they couldn't put the hotel on the bench, having sold the hotel. You know what I mean? I think that's a disappointment for them. That would have given him some solidity in the back, I think.
Yeah, and because of course Reece James probably would have found a way to get injured on the bench. But good to see Pedro Neto fully healthy. He's been a massive difference maker for them. Of course, the game winner last week. Of course, Madueke and Jackson are going to be a handful today. As wasteful as they are, they actually have done some decent things this season. That back line for me, especially with Wesley Fofana having another long-term injury, is one to be challenged. Tosin on the bench, I imagine, just for rotation purposes. I think Levi Colwell is pretty decent, but then you kind of look at Trevor Chalobah. I just don't think that's like his best position. But then again, I just think that was kind of a point of concern for them. And then Robert Sanchez, of course, what can you say about him? He is the ultimate hot and cold keeper, and I think you saw it today in just the way he kind of goes about things. Great shot stopper, but also too very, very hard to trust. And that kind of brings us to our key matchups.
Are you surprised about the formation, though? I mean, it's like they kind of morphed into the back three. I just think switching on the sides of the wings, I think, was a little interesting.
Yeah, no, I think that was a really good shout, Ryan, because, yeah, it's just for them, I think the flexibility and I think from Enzo's standpoint, he probably wanted to confuse us a little bit going into the game. And I think, funny enough, I think that formation change actually did pretty good for them.
Yeah, I think the immediate thought was before you really saw how the game's set up was really, the wingers against the wingbacks that we had going out there. And I think that was the natural look. In particular, Patterson. How Patterson would fare, you knew he was going to be playing on the same side with Jake being part of a different or a new center back pairing. So that's a lot of newness, I guess, shall we say, to kind of put on the pitch at the same time. I just think switching the wings was probably a smart move for Chelsea. You had more of a dribbler or more someone that's direct, physical, that could create problems 1v1 with Patterson, and that's what we saw. I don't know. I just think in general you had some major tactical problems. You know what I mean? Just the setup seemed not one that we were ready to counter. And I kind of curious. I want to hear everyone's take on it. We'll walk through in a second, but it seemed to be so tactically lopsided at times in the first half. A lot of people were clutching at straws to kind of understand what was happening. But there were some matchup issues. I mean, they have some good players, right?
Yeah, there's certainly some issues with the matchups. I mean, I do think Brian Robbins at Brian T. Robbins asks a fair question. He said, tough one to decipher, mismatch tactics or poor execution. And I think that's a fair question. Again, you have a lot of difficult one-on-one matchups. You've got players who, Mykolenko tends to be a pretty good one-on-one defender, but major question marks on Patterson. And the usage of Mykolenko versus Patterson, I think, was definitely up for debate how they should be used. I think on this show, we've kind of come to the consensus that you're probably better off if you're going to play Patterson to try to find ways to get him further up the pitch where he can be more impactful, because we know the defensive side of his game has a lot of flaws. But we saw almost the exact opposite. We saw Mykolenko pushed up a lot higher and Patterson looking to be a bit more reserved. And I just don't think it went well for Patterson, first and foremost. It was a really bad day for him, in my opinion. And really didn't really get that much out of Mykolenko as well. But early on, you saw a lot of problems with matchups in the midfield. I mean, they outnumbered us in the midfield and were just kind of having free reign to dictate the play. And it was early on very much felt like a one-way street where Everton were completely unable to find any space. Beto looked very, very isolated. And Chelsea had a lot of time and space to move through the lines.
And again, I think it's Nico Jackson dropping deeper created a free man, and he was wide open the entire first half. I mean, they could play it wide. He'd drop into the half space, no problem. Getting into the final third, they'd play it down the middle, no problem. And I think if you look at what happened, you've got a couple different issues here. You've got Decore isolated against two defensive mids. Why? Because Garner was floating over concerned about Cole Palmer. And you had Ghana distracted by Enzo. So they split both those midfielders kind of wider. And if you're going to have the ball and dictate it a lot, how do you stop that? It's very difficult. And so what happens is you've got Jackson pulling into the midfield. None of the center backs are going after them. So it's like, okay, well, one of the midfielders would have to go get them. Well, they can't. So you basically got two center backs sitting out there doing nothing, at least until they got in the final third. And yes, they made it tough for crosses to go in and really to generate massive chances. But it was just skate and bias the whole entire time. There was no issue. And a lot of people critiquing Decore getting pulled out. I don't think so at all. I just think he's dealing with two defensive mids. So how hard is it when it got into either of the defensive mids, once you got to pass Beto or any of the wingers, how hard is it to take two defensive mids, pass it around, and find Jackson down the middle 20 yards ahead? Easy. Very easy. And as a result, Jackson barely lost the ball in the first half, had the ball and dictated a lot of things that happened. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that was the story of the match. And I think the question is, whose fault is that? Is that a Moyes issue? Is that a tactical issue? Is that a new center back pairing where they didn't adjust? There's got to be a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think both those things feed into it. I do think that we've seen Moyes try to kind of minimize disruption game over game, and I think that the loss of Tark, who has been sort of the rock on which this entire spine of the team has been built for so long, you'd hope that O'Brien, I think just as prospects, both Branthwaite and O'Brien, I think should be our pairing for the future, but it's challenging to make those adjustments against a talented team like Chelsea, and I think Maresca got it right with moving to the three at the back and just moving those extra numbers into midfield.
Do you think it's a situation if Tark is there, they can kind of adjust more on the fly? Because there seems like there's a little bit more of a natural dynamic. JB's a little more active. Tark will maybe sit back a little bit. But I think either one of them, maybe having that leader in the back allows them to make the change. Because what happened fundamentally after the goal is Moyes did change it.
Right.
The center back started coming out and making the play on Jackson. And it had to be that way. There was no other option. The other option would be, a couple times Garner got halfway a little bit too. He was dropping deeper, but you could tell he was afraid to come all the way over to the middle and go after him. That would be another option. But again, that leaves you 2-on-1 in the wide space.
Right.
And Decore would have to cover for him as well. But, Patty makes this comment, and he made it in the middle of it. Everton getting completely overrun in midfield. But truly, that's why. You got Jackson dropping deep. So now you've got Jackson, Enzo in the left half space, Palmer in the right half space, and Lavia and Caicedo in the middle. You don't have enough guys to cover that. In fact, you only got 3 to deal with 5, fundamentally. So the only real option there is if...
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
If you want to keep your shape, is bringing the center backs forward or one of them to go after them. James, what are your thoughts, though, in terms of... I was really looking forward to seeing Patterson pushed up higher and maybe Mikalenko dropping deeper to kind of morph into a back three. And to me, that's why you would have Jack in there in the half space. You know what I mean? Rather than pushed up higher. Like, I think we have concerns about Dwight McNeil's ability to play right wing with that sidecar wide because he's so left foot oriented. I was kind of assuming that's why Harrison would play. I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
Well, I think there's a few things. I think to the earlier point, I think if Tark's in there, I think it's a lot easier to just have Tark stay at home and send Branthwaite out to be a little bit more aggressive, just because that's kind of the nature of their relationship. You could have Branthwaite come out to mark Jackson. As far as Patterson and Mikalenko are concerned, I think in an ideal world, you could use them in that way. You could hold Mikalenko back. You could push Patterson higher. I just think with the way that we've been playing and this already personnel changes you have to make to try to shift moving the majority of your attack down the right when that's not something we've been doing for weeks now would be a bridge too far, as it were. And I also think, sure, I'd like to see McNeil come in and maybe fill in that role, but Jack's coming off 2 very good performances back-to-back, so I think his inclusion was probably warranted. It wasn't his best performance today. I just think for Moyes, he's been relatively conservative thus far, and I think trying to replace a key personnel and then also sort of change the way that you attack to the opposite side of the field might have just been a bit too much for the day.
Yeah, the other comment I think too is it's hard to dictate that sort of setup when you don't have the ball. And I think Everton have a real problem in that regard, too. I mean, Ghana sometimes checks back for the ball, maybe can play as a little bit more of a sitter, but James Garner cannot. And I think you put James Garner and Mykolenko on the same side. The second any one of them gets the ball, you can press the heck out of them. They don't move the ball quickly. They're not light on their feet. They aren't the best in terms of ball control. Both of them are conservative and safe passers. It's not like when they have it under control, they can't move it. But they're not great necessarily at playing under pressure. And I think part of the problem, though, is when we did want to break out, if you're going to use Mykolenko as your release valve deeper, you really saw his limitations today. That being said, getting into the timeline, I think the story early, besides Jackson just doing whatever the heck he wanted out there, was, that only gets you into the final third. In the final third, I mean, Patterson, you got to cut him a little bit of slack. Shan gave me some garbage on the Discord for me saying this, but I think it's fair. As critical as I am often at Nathan Patterson's defensive issues, he's just getting back. That being said, this was a very, very one-sided matchup.
Yeah, I mean, they were all over us early. It was kind of a situation where I had a little bit more optimism coming in that, I think Chelsea have been a bit of a mixed bag this season, right? Their performances have been a little bit all over the place, and even last week, right, losing 1-0 to Fulham for most of that match and then kind of stealing it at the end. But yeah, it was just a complete, almost peanut gallery of shots, as well as I think kind of getting into, the first 13th minute, Patterson getting beat for pace by Madueke. That was a common theme today. And that's no, to your point, Ryan, Madueke does that to a lot of people. And he cuts inside, forces a diving save from Pick. And yeah, just, for us in the first half, I think the common theme was we just felt like we were just completely overrun and just kind of lacking, an idea.
Yeah, and really an outlet. I mean, it was very much like trying to find Beto completely isolated, Chelsea winning it back, and having the space and time to really push onto us. And I think we also didn't do ourselves any favors, and the referee certainly didn't do us any favors on the day. Kavanaugh was quite difficult to deal with. But in the 25th, this is Branthwaite fouling Jackson, I guess, kind of a foul. This is where Pick comes out to try to punch the free kick and punches it right to Cucurella, who has a really good volley here, and it's deflected wide, and that's a couple good chances. And that immediately precedes their goal in the 27th minute, which we'll definitely break down. I mean, it's Pickford starting it off with a ball with a lot of pace into Beto, who settles it. He has a couple touches. Chalaba's right on his back, though, and makes the challenge, wins it. It goes to Enzo. It's a quick pass forward to Jackson, who just turns and immediately shoots. It's a well-taken shot and right-footed into the left corner. Pickford doesn't really have a chance. And even though Chelsea were definitely pushing for a goal at this point, how quickly this one unfolded and happened and was in the back of the net just felt a little hard to believe.
Yeah, and of course, in typical Everton fashion, right, we allow somebody that hasn't scored for months to get their first goal. But yeah, to your point, James, and it's funny how often this happens, I feel like, when watching a game on NBC or USA, where it's just like immediately a goal is scored and you're like, how did that happen? And then, of course, seeing the highlights, and I think, Ryan makes some good points, and we'll get into it, but just I don't understand how this is Beto's fault, right? Like, it's just you have these strikers isolated on an island. I think at first I gave him a little bit more blame, but given, I think, how quickly things happened, as well as just the center backs going wider, like it's just, there's not, I mean, to your point earlier, there's no outlet. And when Beto finally does get the ball, where is he supposed to go, especially with pressure?
Yeah, I think the Beto hung on to the ball too long. I get it. And you could say he doesn't have a great option. So I think the key view is from the back from Chelsea's goal. And I have it out here, and I put it on the Discord, and I put it out on Twitter. There isn't a great option here. I mean, maybe he could play over to Gardner, but he is very isolated. Decore kind of comes from the side later, but does he hang on the ball too long to try and make a play? Yeah, maybe. I get it. But first of all, what is Pickford doing here? he hammers the ball on the ground. Like, it's one thing to hoof the ball up in the air long, where you have time so the center backs can get off their line, get forward, get into shape. He doesn't do that. So the center backs are barely, JB's not even out of the box at this point when Beto's dribbling with the ball backwards. The midfielders can't get anywhere near to him. He hammers it straight forward to him. The sad part is Beto makes a great first touch. He just hangs on to it. It's a pretty good tackle by Chalobah, no doubt. But again, you lost the ball in the circle. How he didn't kick in his own net. That's what I have a real problem with sometimes, guys. It's just lots of center forwards lose the ball in situations like this. You could argue, yes, he should have got rid of the ball. How do you watch this play and think, oh, well, it's his fault they scored? They still had 50 yards to go. They won the ball, made a pass to Jackson, who was wide open in the middle of the pitch, and he buried it side net. I guess there's a reason why keepers do not play long balls on the ground fast from goal kicks. There's a reason for that, because now you've got to get set up. And if you're going to do that or play long, fine, push everyone forward. So you can't have everyone sit back, have the center backs wide, like you're going to play it short, and then play it fast. It doesn't make any sense to me. There's so many mental mistakes on this one. So, yes, Beto deserves some blame for not hanging on to the ball. But the fact that someone points, this is like, remember when Iwobi lost the ball a couple years ago at midfield? Like, do you know how many things had to have happened for that to happen? But no, of course, the people that already don't think Beto is a Premier League player and now suddenly misses chances and he's a terrible player and stuff. And I just want these people to frankly just shut up. And I'm going to go one step further. I didn't think I was going to go off today on this, but I apparently am. Like, if you watch the first half and out of your own frustration, your target was, well, Decore doesn't score as much goals, shouldn't be playing the 10. Like, that's your response to it? I really think you need to take a step back and maybe pay attention better, because it was very much tactical. Like, there's nothing any individual can do when a player's running free the way Nicolas Jackson was the whole time. That's the concept of the free man. Like, take a step back. It's not always, and if you're pointing to the same individuals every time, like, I think about how well Jack Harrison played the last 2 weeks. Like, if that's immediately where you go to, like, grow up, man. Or just take a step back, breathe, you know? Or call them the Fraudkins and say they're terrible. But no, in all seriousness, I just think I'm belaboring the point a little bit too. There's a lot of blame here too, and Beto, there is some blame here too. But I just think a lot still had to happen for the ball to be in the net. And frankly, you got to give Jackson a little credit for a great finish, by the way.
You do, for sure, and it's a really good chance. And exactly to that point, when you're positioning your players as if you're going to try to play out from the back and play in possession, and then you immediately give the ball over, the adjustment to try to close down in the center of the pitch, it's just we can't make that transition quick enough. So it becomes really challenging, and that's why they have so much time and space, because our whole defense is spread out all the way across the pitch, and the ball's right in the middle. David Moyes had a comment on this in the post-match. He said, "We played a ball into the forwards' feet. We hope that Beto retains possession. We lose it, and they go get a goal. These moments happen. We're trying to become better. We're trying to encourage the players to play. While you do that, you're liable to mistakes." And I think we did see that, to Moyes' point. There was definitely more of an effort. We did still go long quite a bit, but there's more of an effort by Everton to try and possess the ball a little bit in a game where, Chelsea liked to possess the ball. Like, in a lot of games under Deitch, we would have been very comfortable to sit at like 29, 30% possession. But you didn't see that from Everton today. You did see them trying to move the ball around the back a little bit, trying to be a little more coherent in possession than we've seen. And those types of transitions don't happen easily or quickly. So it's a bit of adjustment for the entire squad, I think.
What's so funny to me, though, James, is just, a few minutes before that, Njai loses the ball on the side in a much more egregious position, like dribbling it for just having his back to goal. And I understand a goal didn't come from that, but it was a pretty dangerous chance for them, And so for me, I think what gets frustrated about Beto kind of almost being isolated there is I don't think he did the worst job in the world, but I think for kind of Moyes to comment on that, I think is a bit frustrating given, as we just talked about the last, 5 or 10 minutes, there's a lot that needed to happen kind of after that, right, for the goal to be scored.
I think Moyes kind of alludes to that too. Like, he does, it's the one moment, it's the one goal of the game, and we did give it away after Beto lost it. I don't think he's necessarily blaming Beto there, although the way he worded it, it does kind of come off that way. So I think that's a fair observation, Sean.
Well, did he mention in the post game that he completely ignored the fact that they were playing with a false nine, let a free man go for 35 straight minutes? Like, I'm sorry, there was no adjustment whatsoever from the bench. He should recognize that. That should have been the first thing he said, and he did change it at halftime. So, I mean, you're asked the question, you got to answer it. Moyes has been fantastic too. I'm not decrying that, but like, first of all, Nico Jackson, that's kind of how he plays a little bit. Not as blatantly as today. Today was a design that was a little bit different. So I don't doubt that any manager is going to struggle a little bit with adjustments, but this guy's not really even a true center forward. So I think you got to expect some of his movement and the way he plays a little bit better, in my opinion. Am I wrong? Is that fair?
No, I think that is fair, Ryan. But I will say I think the most frustrating thing that Moyes didn't talk about today is the police report that needs to be filed for Robert Sanchez in the 38th minute when he assaults Vitaly Mykolenko. I mean, guys, it's just...
He got the ball. He got the ball.
He also I think got the entirety of Mykolenko's just...
that was a collision. I mean, that was free safety stuff.
That's a football hit. No doubt.
It's not a penalty for me, though. I mean, you guys didn't think it was a penalty.
No,
it's not a foul on Mykolenko, though. How is that a foul on him?
So originally I thought it actually could have, of course, just the cynic in me. But then after seeing the replay, I do agree, Ryan, he gets the ball. But I also don't think that's a foul. What is Mykolenko supposed to do? Yeah, what is he supposed to do? Get out of the way? He has as much right to that ball as Sanchez does. But, I just don't think it's a foul on Mykolenko.
Two guys going for the ball, one guy gets it, the other guy clatters into him. I mean, that's a foul to me. It's unfortunate because Mykolenko clearly...
That looked more like the Thunderdome than clattering into him. Clearly, that was like hand-to-hand combat.
It's weird because Mykolenko's the one who gets destroyed on the play, but it's a 50-50 ball and he's a little late. So he comes off worse for wear, but thankfully he was able to continue. I honestly thought there was no way he wasn't concussed. I mean, that most of the contacts, right to the head, he's tough. He's tough. I'll give him credit.
Well, I think some people might argue the way he was on the ball this game maybe.
Okay.
No. In his defense, though, he had a great cross 7 minutes later on this play, and this is a play. This is like the classic Decore where he creates a chance on, right? The late arriving, either a header or a volley, and Decore just kind of heads this off to the right. I don't know what happened here. It's very strange, but. The last couple minutes here after the goal, I mean, clearly Moyes had instructed. Jake started coming out and really going after Jackson, and we were playing a little bit more aggressively after the guy. So clearly there was some changes made, but we looked okay, I thought, in the last 10 minutes. And certainly this was a decent chance. I'm not saying he's going to beat Sanchez from here, but it gave you a little bit of optimism, at least going into the half. I just wish we had made a change tactically earlier because – I mean, look, let's look at the first half stats for a second here. Guys, it's still predominantly one-sided.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the Decore header is our one shot of the entire half. It ends up being somewhat decent, but for the most part, Chelsea kind of dominant. But really, I mean, they had 0.49 XG, 3 shots on target. Pickford was forced into a couple really good saves, but it ended up being... statistically a little bit more even than I would have expected having watched it. I mean, 45% possession for Everton, a lot of that at the back and mostly meaningless, but nevertheless, we weren't getting completely just dominated in the way that it sort of felt at times, especially early on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just, as we talked about, I think the tactics were not there. And I also think from a personnel standpoint, we just don't have the midfield at this point to compete with their athletes, right? And you saw it. I don't think this was Ghana's best day either, but I also don't blame him for just kind of having to deal with Pedro Neto and Caicedo, especially in transition. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. Tactics weren't great in the matchup. On paper, it didn't look as bad, but the way they kind of came out was just, it was not great.
I mean, Chelsea 8 successful dribbles to R2, and they won 7 aerials to R2. So what else? They got 22 duels, 55% win rate. They did commit 7 fouls to R5, and 4 corners to 0 is one of the ones that I think was really frustrating.
Well, they were front foot the whole time. I think the advantage was that thankfully Chelsea crossed the ball poorly. They were 2 for 10 in crosses. Once they get in the final third, they didn't quite do as well as you'd like. Now, a little bit that is tactical choice, right? I mean, that's a little bit it. If you're going to drop your center forward that far deep to help with transition, it's hard necessarily to get him forward. Maybe that's also an issue with the backside, too. If you're going to attack on the left side as often as they were, Neto's got to get a little bit higher. Maybe Cole Palmer has to find a little more space. And some of that's the limitations of Jackson as well, too. He's just, in my opinion, he's not really a center forward. He's more of kind of a second striker or a 10, or playing as kind of like the false 9 he was today. That's how I always thought he would be as a player. I mean, I think Chelsea do need a true number 9. I mean, I think that's a bit of their issue. But anyway, I think, look, it couldn't have got much worse. So I was looking forward to a second half where maybe we might be a little bit more competitive. But to your point, it's hard. When you have that midfield kind of composition, it's a little bit more difficult to get on the ball and really take care of business and do things. Very curious sub, though, at halftime. I'm curious what people thought. Yes, the tactical adjustment, the center back stepping forward against Jackson, I thought was the biggest difference maker. But we did look a bit better on the ball. But do we think something's wrong with Njai here? Why would you make this move, Charlie, for Njai, even though we have seen it? Or do we think we're just maybe managing his health?
Well, I think for me, Ryan, I don't think he had a great first half, and I think it's kind of one of those situations where I kind of give a little bit of credit to Moyes even in the moment. It's just like I think we all agree that Njai's had a fantastic season for Everton. He's going to be one of our foundational pieces going forward, but not everybody's completely untouchable in terms of match-to-match performance, right? So, and at this point, it's just you're playing with kind of the ability to experiment, and I'm so glad that Charlie got a full 45, right, to kind of be the creative figure. So for me, I was totally for it, and I'm glad it wasn't for an injury that seemingly, right? I don't know if you guys have seen anything, but it just seemed like just managing the game.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it had the kind of immediate impact as you might have. I mean, it's a little bit of a like for like in terms of what they were doing, although it was very interesting. Eventually, Charlie did gravitate towards the middle, and Decore kind of floated out left, which was curious. I think that was more to have an extra midfielder in and Decore tucking in to kind of help with some of the problems they had before. And because otherwise, I mean, think about it, center backs start stepping out or Garner starts stepping deep. Now you got Cole Palmer on the loose on his left foot, and that is not something you want to do. Yeah, some interesting things happened kind of right after that. There's the corner kind of mishit to the near post where Pick kind of covers, turns out, makes a play, and then there's that strange antics off the corner with Jackson is a weird guy, by the way. Chelsea have a lot of guys that are not the most likable, but they're very young, brash, and kind of immature. But I think if you look at the overarching kind of numbers up to the point of where Everton finally made the subs, I mean, it wasn't a whole lot better.
No, it was not. I mean,
but not big chances, though. I mean,
no, and that's the nice thing about this match. Ultimately, is like they didn't create a ton besides the goal. They had some chances, but I think Moyes, by the time the 55th rolled around, he had probably seen enough in the second half. He eventually makes a triple sub shortly after the 60-minute mark, and from halftime to the subs, Chelsea had 76% possession. I mean, they were truly just well in control. One shot to one shot again in that period, so it's still relatively even. They had 5 corners, though. 5 corners in that stretch. So Moyes saw fit to make a change. He said, this is not good enough. Right before he makes those changes, though, we have our best chance of the game by a long shot, and it's largely thanks to Beto taking an incredible shot. Jack has a great touch in space, finds Beto finally in some space to run in behind, and forces a really good save from Sanchez here. I mean, this is a .04 XG shot. He turns into a .74 post-shot XG. And it's just really good across his body, across the face of goal, forcing Sanchez down, diving, probably his best save of the game. Unfortunately, we couldn't draw level there, but again, signs of positive things happening, and then some reinforcements to further bolster Everton pushing for an equalizer.
Yeah, it was a great shot. Like, it's just kind of one of those plays. It was much like the Brentford game in terms of Beto, where he takes the chance really well, and it's just great goalkeeping, right? So from Sanchez, so you got to give him a lot of credit. I was actually very happy with Moyes, especially to see Tremidi kind of get an extended run. I think we've been kind of crying out for that, and of course, understand why he would start Broha last week, given the lack of availability this week, and then of course seeing Dwight come on as well, and seeing him start to continue to build match fitness, and then of course Ashley Young, death taxes and Ashley Young. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I know Ryan was really disappointed not to see Tim in that triple sub.
Yeah, crushed. I wanted it to finish, I wanted us to give up 2 goals again like last match. I mean, I'm going to die at the end of the year when you just put all the stats together, even though it's not totally his fault, and how many goals we've conceded per minute when Tim is on the pitch. I love how people now, it's a joke in the Discord about wanting to play Tim or whatnot, but I don't know what you do with him. But anyway, I'll digress.
Your thoughts on the triple sub, Ryan? I mean, I think Harrison had probably run his race up to that point. Patterson kind of given a mercy removal from Moyes at that point, just getting completely dominated for most of the minutes he was on.
I mean, meh. I guess this is one of the, I mean, come on, look at the people coming on here. Is anyone going to cheer and say, oh, here we go? No, but I do think functionally it probably worked a little bit better. I mean, you had Young was willing to sit back a little bit more. I think we've wanted to see McNeil play right wing and see how it would go. I want to see him try and see if he can play right wing with the sidecar. I just don't think he can. And I thought you saw a couple different times when he played on that side, he was completely limited in terms of which way he could turn. In his defense, he was clearly a step slow. So, I mean, he's not fit. I think it answered questions as to why he didn't start, because he clearly doesn't look like he looked gassed after 10 minutes, let alone being able to play 60 or 70. But yeah, I think that's going to be a continuing problem, finding and figuring out where the heck Dwight McNeil fits on this team. And sadly, the couple corners we had were all from the other side, and which God knows the delivery was a combination of bad delivery and bad choices. But I think I was excited to see Trimidi play a little bit, but I wasn't going to expect anything different than what Beto gave him. Beto's a better player at this point, and Trimidi gave the ball up several times as well as getting offside. So, I thought we played better as a team. I thought Chelsea got a little more open, though. I will say this. I mean, us being a little bit more aggressive, taking out the third man, kind of the obvious man in there in Jackson, Jake stepping up, winning the ball a couple times from him, and having the line pushed up a little higher did make a difference. And we got on the front foot a couple times and created some chances. It looked like there was a chance we could score. I don't know how you guys felt at this moment, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and you see it, I mean, Ghana getting a shot on right on goal, really good hit for him, in terms of right at Sanchez. I thought there would be a little bit more there. But I think kind of going the rest of the match, it was just, it was another great goalkeeping moment, again, by Jordan Pickford on Nana. That was just, I think, the most frustrating moment of the second half, Ryan. It's just where Madueke essentially just cut open our entire team. And then just Pickford does so well on this. I think it's one of his, I mean, I know you said earlier, James, and an incredible save by him earlier, but this is probably one of his best saves as well, and does a great job of keeping us in it. And then, of course, you get into the 86th minute. Of course, 85th minute beforehand, Nico Jackson scores. It's offsides. But this was such a great moment from Charly, who I thought really started to come alive in the second half. Races down to track the ball in the end line, crosses it back, and Dwight, kind of cross-body, hits it really well. And again, Robert Sanchez, a pretty smart save to keep them in it. I think for him, unfortunately, one of his better days, because on another day, it could have easily been 1-1.
When you freeze frame some of his saves, he just looks so out of sorts at times. You know what I mean? He's a good player, though, I think, though he's a little bit, kind of makes you nervous at times. I wonder if a fully fit Dwight even hits this better. I think he does well with this, though. I mean, this is a hard ball to necessarily hit square, and his placement is really, really good. I think like the expected goals on this one, post shot was really high, just like Beto's too. So, I mean, those numbers are going to make Sanchez's day look a little bit better. But you're right, Sean, in many ways. I mean, he is just a normal keeper on a couple of these plays. I mean, Everton may have gotten a result from this one, even as poorly as Everton looked in the first half.
Yeah, we really did get good Sanchez today. And I love Dwight getting in there and the way he takes that volley, that he completely jumps in the air and does the flick kick. Good moment from him. And again, just kind of working his way back into full fitness as the season winds down. He'll have those moments.
But that's kind of what you want from the benefit of him playing on the right side is coming in on the left. I mean, you could see a situation if we had a better attacking left kind of back option to be funneling the ball with Njai and finding people and attacking and dominating mostly on the left and feeding him cutting inside on his right foot. I think it would be interesting. He certainly has a great left peg. I mean, you'd love to get him. The intent behind him playing the right side is cutting inside, be able to threaten the goal a little bit, either via cross or via shots. He does well here. It is a shame, but this would have been a total smash and grab point, though, in my opinion. I still think, by and large, Chelsea were the better team, but I think the second half stats versus the first half stats, I think do show an interesting story. It was a pretty even second half, I think.
Yeah, I think it absolutely was. The stats are actually remarkably similar. Looking at our notes here, I almost thought that I copy and pasted the same screenshot twice because second half 54-46 possession instead of 55-45. Similar XG numbers too. Chelsea actually had 0.49 exactly in both halves. Those numbers might change, but Everton slightly improved in that we had 5 shots and forced 3 saves versus the 1 shot that wasn't even on target in the first half. We had the 2 corners. They had 6, though, and our 2 corners were just completely wasted, both into the hands of Sanchez. But overall, I think, again, improvement, if slight, into the second period and prevented them from really having any great moments to score, whereas we had a couple ones that we could have had the smash and grab point, which we're not unfamiliar with at Stamford Bridge. We've had a couple of smash and grab points there in recent years. But overall, Chelsea probably deserved to win, I think, on the day. Ends sort of the brutal April stretch. We've made it through. A couple of things I wanted to talk about on the back end. The Jake and Jared partnership at center back, something we've been hoping to see all season. We finally saw it today, although with the caveat of a sort of disrupted line elsewhere with Patterson coming in. Thought Branthwaite was very good. We'll talk about him in our good performances. What did you guys think of tactically sort of those two starting to form a partnership that we hope to see in the future for longer stretches of matches?
I was excited, especially last week. I know Moyes got a lot of kind of heat in regards to not putting Jake in the middle, right? And I kind of understand why. And to have kind of a week of training to just get Jake back to, his preferred position. I think it ultimately just showed, though, how well he was playing at right back to kind of just put him, to put Pato there and just feel like we had such a void with Pato, because some of those diagonal balls that I feel like he was getting really good at, right? And you saw kind of at the end of the first half, I just don't think Patterson's going to play like a ball like that. And so you get to a place where I am really excited, but then it kind of really stresses the need of how important the wing backs are, or just the left and right back are, when you have those 2 guys in the middle.
That was my point too, Sean. I think it's very hard to evaluate them when you have such a person that was just getting annihilated so badly coming out, and now Jake's in a very difficult situation, as well as Ghanaf having to come over there and deal with, in essence, Jake's being pulled out of position to cover for Patterson, and Ghana has to decide whether he can cover and allow him to be aggressive or deal with Enzo. So, yeah, I think it's a very difficult situation, especially with Jackson floating over there to really evaluate them. And I think we commented enough on whether it's an individual issue between the partnership and dealing with the free man and the false 9 kind of concept as well. I don't think that's necessarily fair, but they grew into the match, I think, for sure. And I do think there can be some pretty good synergy there. It is nice having 2 center backs. I mean, yes, they're massive guys, but they're fast and they're both pretty good on the ball, and they can move it even over longer distances. So in a league that seems like it's becoming increasingly more vertical, I think they're a very interesting pairing. And I think if you look at Moyes' past pairings, like he inherited box defenders when he first came to Everton and eventually came up with the Jagielka-Distin combo, which those are 2 guys that are very fleet of foot. And as much as I would rather use Moyes' more recent comparisons in terms of personnel and usage, I do think that's probably a formula he would much rather see. It just allows you to get up the pitch a little bit better. And I will say this, Jake, I think watching him play in the past at center back has some issues sometimes with judgment and when to come out and when not to. And I think you saw a little more decisiveness in the second half. And I thought that was a very, very good thing, a very optimistic thing, because, his awareness is maybe not always there. He can make up for a lot of that with his physical gifts, but I thought that was encouraging. And the fact that we were on the front foot at times was good. And no matter what, they still didn't get that many chances in the final third. I would like him to be a little bit more aggressive contesting against players, but, you can't have everything perfect. But, yeah, I'm optimistic, and I want to see him what it looks like with a different right back.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the numbers creation-wise, and to your point, Ryan, they really didn't create that much. They finished with 0.98 XG. The majority of their XG came from set plays. We actually had more XG from open play than they did, just slightly. Again, these numbers are, especially some of the shots in this game, were definitely warped a little bit by the XG numbers, but just discouraging for me that we only finished with 0.03 XG from set plays. Yeah, we only had 2 corners, but it has to be better. It really does have to be better.
We had some stuff from distance, too. I mean, there was one offside call against Schmidt, which was disappointing because I like that setup. They didn't have enough guys on the backside, and we had 3, and you thought that could be something. I mean, you got to give him a little credit, though, just from a pure volume standpoint in terms of the set piece XG from Chelsea. I mean, they had a bunch of corners, I mean, we did well on them. Hand chop aside between Jackson and JB. I know I glossed over that, but that was amusing. Some of these guys, God bless them, I don't know how they have the patience that they do, the center backs and big guys in the back, because I kind of put myself in those situations and knowing VAR's there. I mean, if they had VAR on some of the shenanigans that I've pulled in like high school and adult league, I mean, I'd be suspended forever.
He might be in jail.
I might be, honestly. It might be. I mean, I've had people threaten to kill me, but I don't know if that really that was really deserved. But yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, you've got to deal with some of these guys that are so annoying. But again, the combination of players that we do have in there, you've got 2 really big guys and good keeper. It is tough to do stuff against us from a set piece standpoint. And I think our deficiency set piece, I still think a little bit of it is delivery. I mean, I can't really argue that. But dear heavens, if you're going to play a ball to the far post, you've got to elevate it a little bit, and you have to get someone to keep the keeper in deeper. Like, you can't play it within the 6 and expect the keeper not to make a play. I mean, I don't get that. And it was open, too. There were guys that we had on the back. You just would like to see, when you've got those 2 massive guys in there, us to attack the ball and at least give them a chance to go after them. But that hasn't really been the case, I guess. But man, if they get that ironed out in the future, that center back combination is going to provide a lot of opportunities off set pieces.
Charlie Adam just needs a little more time to work, guys. I mean, that's clearly the solution here. He just needs more time to work it out.
No comment.
I mean, there's not much he can do. You can't do much when the guy taking the corner puts it right into the keeper's hands both times. But
time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
despite the loss, I think we did have some pretty decent performances across the board when you look closely. I went with Pickford. I think that's the easy one, kind of low-hanging fruit. He had 6 saves on the day. He was only 4 for 16 in long balls, and that one punch he had that went right to Cucurella was a little bit shaky, but in terms of shot stopping, kept us in the game, made it close. He was under fire quite a bit, and a couple of them were pretty routine saves, but there were some very important ones that he made as well. So easy choice for me. Pickford is my pick of the day.
Yeah, and I went with Charly. Of course, just the 45 minutes, but 1 shot, 1 key pass, 93% pass accuracy. I put 28 touches just because, funny enough, that was actually 1 more than Jack Harrison had the entire match. 1 for 1 on crosses, 2 for 3 on long balls, and I just thought he was really confident on the ball today on a day where we basically kind of needed some composure in the middle of the field. I thought he progressed the ball really well. I wish he kind of took the shot at the end. I don't know what Decore was doing in like the 91st minute. Like it just very Decore kind of esque mistake today. But just overall, really pleased for Charly, especially as much commentary as we've had on him in regards to will he stay, will he go. I just thought this was a good step forward in regards to a day like today.
You just love to see him receiving and looking to drive the ball forward. And honestly, some of the positions that he got the ball in the second half, I would have loved to see Njai get the ball there because he was getting swarmed every time he had the ball the first half and hacked every time he actually was able to make a dribble move and not getting calls. But something that they both bring similarly is that ability to carry the ball. And honestly, at some point, I'd like to see them both on the field at the same time because I think it makes it really difficult for defenses to accommodate or plan for marking both of them.
I think we'll see that more against the weaker competition. I think knowing, too, that we clearly wanted to control the option to buy Charly, I still can't imagine that we wouldn't exercise it. But there may be some timing issues and PSR issues. I don't know exactly how that could play out. So I guess the longer you wait, if it automatically vests, maybe there's a timing issue there when it kind of triggers and whatnot in terms of accounting. I hate talking about accounting on this now. I'm so tired of it. I went with JB, but to be perfectly honest, I mean, he was 3 for 4 in ground duels and 7 for 11 in long balls. And I think his ball playing was on display today. It was very good. But fundamentally, I think especially after the first half, there was a lot of lack of composure for our players today. I felt like there was better opportunities for them to make better choices, have better skill on the ball. And I know the squad's not that good, but I just didn't think many people played very well. I really don't think it had much to do with that. I mean, they were struggling to deal with pressure at times. Even small, short, medium passes were not crisp, were not clean. And Shan, you opened this to say their back line is something you can get at those back line guys. They're not that great defensively. Lavea gives them a little bit of a different dynamic at defensive mid, so maybe both him and Caicedo can kind of sniff out stuff better than maybe some of the other combos, so maybe that's a little bit part of it. But yeah, it was hard for me to really pick anyone. Just a lot of mediocre performances, and even though I know we don't have good personnel, I expect that we are going to play better going forward, but it does kind of concern me. Maybe if you bring Charly in, you've got a little more composure and a little more skill on the ball, but we really lack it in midfield at times. I mean, Ghana's decent. Garner's and Decore's not clean on the ball either. So to me, that's an obvious area of upgrade needed.
No question about it. I mean, this team is not very press resistant, to say the least. I mean, look, we harp on Patterson. I think Patterson, every time he got the ball today, was just looking to make the easy pass to get rid of it. It felt like he's not a threat to beat anyone. But then you look through the rest of the team. Harrison, kind of same situation. Not really able to beat anyone with pace. Garner, Mikolenko, like the backs just really limit, I think, what this team's able to do getting up and down the field. But I agree with you that Branthwaite did have a good day, all things considered. I mean, we barely talked about Ghana besides his shot on target. He was okay, but as one of the only guys who's really a strong possession player, you'd say, just kind of limited in what he can do with the guys around him.
Pulled out tactically, too. I mean, the tactics matter. The situations matter, I will say this, though. I know Patterson wasn't very good, and I know we'll get into some of these other comments, but I would come back with him next week, though, still. I really would. I think his benefits to this team are maybe he's not a plug-and-play starter. Let's assume we go and acquire right back that's a true, really good right back, and they're going to start. I still think he's got the option as kind of a wing back or an attacking right back, and I do think there is a dynamic that might be workable. If we get another attacking left back, maybe that wouldn't work with him, but maybe with Mikolenko sitting deeper, I think it could work, but against a weaker team for sure. So I would still go back with him, but I mean he was not good today.
The only thing I would do is just, pull Miko back and put Patterson forward, right, in regards to just kind of
that's
overall.
what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a typical Moyes thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to pick on him too much. Like he was like 4 for 5 in tackles. Didn't feel that way at all.
Bad, though, man. I mean,
I know, but it is a tough. He hasn't played much. He's coming in against a really difficult matchup across the board. Madueke had his way with him, and it is what it is. But I agree that against weaker opposition, this is a tough game to make a start. Next week against Ipswich, I think it's a different story.
Well, that's my point. Is it's okay to critique a player without it's not like an edict that they're terrible. I mean, I think unfortunately some people, maybe it's social media, get out there and just, everyone, they're just terrible. If they had one bad performance, that's not. I think we're better than that here on the podcast, aren't we, guys?
We are, but it's getting close to edict time for Nathan Patterson. I've got to be honest. He's been here long enough. I don't really see it. But maybe, I mean, again, against more favorable opposition where he's not going to be completely on the back foot the entire time, it can be a different story for him. And I do hope that he does show some promise. I just don't think he's it. I don't really think he's even quite a squad player, to be honest. But we shall see. We can't reinvent the entire squad overnight. We do have a couple comments here to wrap things up from Paul Roberts on Blue Sky, Paul Raj at bluesky.social. Not a surprise result given our record there, but defense played pretty well. Alcaraz looks a player, and McNeil being back is a bonus. We just need better footballers, particularly in the middle and up front. I mean, that is a very good summary of everything we've talked about today.
Do you get the feeling that Moyes doesn't really like Beto?
Yeah, I'm starting to get that feeling. I mean, it's and I also think too, as the goals have dried up, right? Like it happens, right? Like it's not like we're blaming him. I think we've had a pretty objective view even during the scoring run about him But yeah, I think his target striker, or kind of his target for a striker, is not the Beto mold per se.
Yeah, I think we universally have agreed he's a good Premier League backup center forward. I don't think anyone, I mean, if you have to go with him for a year, Chermiti, it was good to see him get on the pitch today, but I don't know if I necessarily saw much there yet. And I've watched him a lot in the past. I just wonder if he comes back with Broja next week. I really hope he does not. I don't understand the point of that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I think Beto gets better the more and more you play him. So maybe by function, he's not a good backup striker if we want to invest. But, I mean, strikers cost a lot of money. Like, you're not going to go and just get Liam Delap for £30 million and think no one else is going to go in for him, you know? So, I don't know. I mean, that's still going to be a little bit of – that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch in the offseason. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin, would he sign a deal? I don't know. I think that's kind of gone. But anyway, lots of other comments in here as well, I think. But yes, better quality up top would be really, really interesting. I would love a stud right wing, but center forward does need to be settled in some capacity.
Yeah, and then kind of going into the comments, a little bit of round table. 3 of these back-to-back, and I think they were all interesting ones. Sluggish in the first half from Canadian Toffee, by the way, on this one. Sluggish in the first half, decent effort in the second, was there for the taking. Frustrating to not see more. Njai, hopefully just a mental block. Alcaraz made a big impact today. Totally agree. And then for Mike, I think this is an interesting one. Moyes didn't get the first half right, but early subs in the second changed the game, and we had chances. Sanchez had some excellent saves. Totally agree. Not sure what people are still expecting from a limited squad. Chelsea played with tactics, and we don't have the players to defend properly. Now let's see more of Chermiti and Alcaraz for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, what
this
is up
one?
With people I mean, can you explain this to me?
Yeah. It's I think, as we talked about earlier on the podcast, I think I need to start suggesting hobbies to the Discord, as well as to the overall Everton Twitter.
Bird watching.
Yeah, bird watching.
No, we're not talking about what your favorite bird is, okay? That is crossing a line. Like, I thought the nuts were questionable. The 80s power ballads that DL was trying to go forward with. And I have some questions on that, by the way. I really don't think some of those things really fit the definition of power ballad, just my personal opinion. No, we're not getting into birds, but I do think people need to take a step back, for heaven's sakes. Like, the net spend difference is 900 million euros the last 3 years. Did you really think we're going to roll into Stamford Bridge and hammer these guys? I know they're not perfect and they're there for the taking. They needed to win this match, by the way. This is a big match for them.
Yeah, I really don't think you can understate the motivation. I mean, they came off a big comeback win against Fulham. Their managers in the stands watching on. They still have quite a bit to play for. And Everton, look, it's a limited squad, and they've been through a lot. They've been through it the last few seasons. It must be reasonably nice for this group of players. I'm sure they're still trying to win every single match, but there isn't a lot of pressure on Everton in the way that there has been. And it's still the same squad with the same limitations that we've been talking about for years now. So the expectations, again, now we're 1 win in 8 is the Forest match. We've had 5 draws, 3 losses. Like, I don't think that's that bad a return. And it's the end of an absolutely brutal April.
Yeah, do people forget about schedules? Like, strength of schedule doesn't matter? That's a weird thing, by the way, in football. You know what I mean? I feel like that's such a commonplace thing for Americans to really think about the opponent and quality opponents. But you know what I mean? Sean, you were going to say something.
I mean, we can only have Toffee Fest, every so often, right? So it's
once
just,
a year, yeah.
I mean, beggars can't be choosers, right? So, in going into the last comment from Tim, Moyes experimented against a decent team, and their goal directly came from some inexperience. Second half looked pretty good, got a couple of answers about players, and didn't get crushed. So not all bad. And kind of agree, I think with
Standards.
Charly getting some
Standards.
Some more times.
How can you say that? Standards.
Standards and Fraudkins are like the monikers of the Discord now. It's just it's enjoyable. But yeah, I think, as we just talked about, right, the tough April stretch is over, thank goodness. 4 points out of, I would say, 5 matches, and you look at the top 5 of the table, that's the schedule, right? And I think overall, not a bad return, all things considered. Of course, you might expect a little bit more, but I think the biggest thing, and I wanted to say this earlier, is we've been in every match, right? It hasn't been like a beatdown, and even today, right? Of course, I know we were down 1-0 most of it, but could have easily nicked a draw. And then even against City, right, you have that Tark injury happen. But, I thought we were the better team, right, the first kind of 50, 55 minutes, right? And they have everything to play for as well. So overall, I can't be too upset. And I think truly am enjoying this, lack of pressure, right, that we have on us.
You just have to give Moyes a ton of credit for making this team competitive. And that's something Deitch always strived for as well. Like, keep the score low, don't concede, and hope for points. But playing the top five back to back to back to back to back, and the only loss that was by more than one goal was City, and that was a garbage time goal. And it was like, I just think he deserves a ton of credit for how competitive he's made this team. And even in the games where we look pretty offensively inept, we're still creating a chance or two. And that's something you can't say for the time under Deitch, where we would just shut up shop and have nothing going forward.
I'm still going to give a lot of credit to the recruitment team. I mean, think about how bad this team should be. There was a €900 million net spend difference in the last 3 years. It didn't look like it. So, and I know we didn't look great, but it was definitely a very competitive match. The good news is the upcoming schedule is a lot lighter. In these next 4 matches, I mean, certainly at Newcastle, the closer is difficult, but Ipswich and Southampton at home. I know it's Everton. I get it. At Fulham. All of these matches, I think, are probably a little better audition, too, for some players to really get on the front foot and play. And I think, in particular, I think we could possibly expect a fairly entertaining match, which we haven't had maybe one of those in a while, in this next one. What do we think?
Yeah, and going into kind of the preview, we'll keep it kind of short. Ipswich, pretty easy to kind of analyze in terms of 18th in the Premier League table. Don't really want to look at last year, just given that they weren't in the Premier League last year. 18th in expected points as well. They're overperforming by 1.8. Of course, that's going to still have them be relegated. They had a good start to the Premier League season, but I think the things that really got away from them, the lack of the defensive foundation, I think trusting Muric as their goalkeeper, right, to come into this season, he cost them, in my opinion, quite a few points that could have helped them. And I think some tough decisions transfer-wise, maybe better use of loans. I don't think Calvin Phillips was the answer. And I think trying to strengthen that back line, right, are things that kind of put them in a tough spot, as well as just the inability to close out games. I mean, you look just a few weeks ago, right, when they were up 1-0 on Wolves. I mean, they easily, that could have been something to keep them up. So it's just kind of one of those things. Of course, Liam Delap has had a fantastic season. Great to see him do well. 12 goals on 11.59 XG, so, truly earned it. But then kind of like Everton, right, in the sense of no one really having many goals, outside of kind of one person. And for us, that's Njai. And so, Sammy Smodics with 4, Amari Hutchinson with 3. And thank you, James. They are officially relegated today with a 3-0 loss. So not really much to play for. I know Ben Johnson got a red card today, so he'll be out. Leif Davis, a pretty exciting player for them. He's going to be out too with that red card. I will be in attendance for that one, so I'm really excited about it, hanging out with Jonesy. So hopefully I won't have to boo from this first whistle if I see Armando Broja starting at center forward, because that would really put a damper on things. But yeah,
I was going to say, if Calvin Phillips is the answer, what is the question? Just here earlier.
The buffet is open and the first man is in line.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not very nice. Questionable hairstyle as well, too. You know, it's so sad, too. I mean, he really was a very good player at one point, too. So part of it.
He's so good for Leeds. Like, so good for Leeds.
On the ball constantly, and I could see how people would want that type of player. But I think it'll be a very different situation next year with other teams coming up. But both those teams are ambitious in terms of how they want to play, and we'll see. I don't necessarily buy into the whole thing that the 3 coming up are doomed or anything, too, because I think Leeds in particular spend money. But hopefully we will, too. I mean, that would be the nice thing. I keep watching these matches, guys, to close to sit and say, man, I look forward to next year when we have better players.
100%. We are just cruising to the end of the season, just 4 games left, and then we can get into what should be a really exciting summer. So not going to get too emotionally riled up over this loss. We have made it through the brutal April. We've got some winnable games coming up and hopefully a way to send off Goodison in style. So we hope to see that. Shan, safe travels. Hope you enjoy the trip next week. Very jealous that you'll get to be there. Enjoy it very much. Hope you enjoyed this episode, everybody. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you did, please leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. Follow us on socials. Reach out to us. Join our Discord for sure. With that, we'll leave it there. Until next time, up the Toffees.
Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.